Welcome to episode 239 of the Necronoma.com.
You know what's really scary? Book bans. Long a tool of authoritarians, book bans are a direct threat to our freedom to read. That's why Library Foundation SD, Brooklyn Public Library, and other partners across the country have launched Books Unbanned to fight this evil. This campaign makes frequently banned or challenged books available through a digital catalog to young people across the U.S., including states with increasing book bans. Like your local library, it's completely free to sign up. Want to learn more, including how you can help increase access to the books we love? Visit libraryfoundationsd.org.
And I want to send a quick thank you to Fright Rags, one of our top sponsors for Spirited Giving 2024, May 29th, San Diego, California. Fright Rags has been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003. Offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, and cult classics. Officially licensed collections include titles like John Carpenter's The Thing, The Evil Dead, Creep Show, Jaws, the Halloween franchise, and so many more. Head on over to fright-rags.com. Make sure to sign up for their SMS and email newsletter to never miss a drop. Listeners get 10% off when they use the code NECRO10, all caps, at checkout. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now, and I fit in really well with this because I am also a jackass.
And I am Don Guillory, author, historian. Welcome to Jackass, and us talking about one of my favorite things, which is WPS, white people shit. I love this. I love this so much.
And joining us, the person who picked Jackass Forever, Danger Slater. Welcome back to the show, man.
Welcome, welcome.
I thought you guys were going to do like the Jackass intro. Hi, my name's James Sabata, and welcome to Necronoma.com.
I thought about it.
And then someone hits you in the dick or, whatever happens next. You run into a wall.
Usually I get hit with a dick after the show. Nobody, that's not usually recorded. I mean, but check out my OnlyFans. You never know. Anyway,
so we got to pay for these cons somehow,
right? Jesus Christ, this is already falling apart. Danger, why don't you tell everybody a bit about yourself and your new projects and all that good stuff?
Okay. I'm a bizarro and horror author, and I have, 8 books at this point, and a new one coming out in August of this year called Starlet, which is about movies in Hollywood and stuff. So it's kind of a satire of these things. And it's about this young girl who goes to she wants to be a Hollywood actress, and she hasn't really had her big break yet. And she meets a very famous A-lister who's kind of on the decline of his career, and they hit it off. And he invites her to her mansion, and things are not exactly what they seem, and it gets really weird and gory from there.
Excellent. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm a huge fan of your work. I've read, a good majority of your books, at least. I think all of them, but I'm not quite positive. But I love how you tap, obviously Bizarro, but just you tap so much social commentary in these really weird situations. And I adore it. Moonfellows obviously was one of my favorites, and Little Miss Apocalypse is actually the one I tell people to start with now. I'm like, if you read nothing else, I want to talk to you about this book because I love it so much. But even like Impossible James or going back to Puppet Skin, I've just adored your work, and I don't want to say too many nice things because I know it inflates your ego and you become insufferable. But I really encourage people to check it out and just have a good time.
You can keep telling me how great I am. That's fine.
I know. See, this is what happens. This is what I'm saying. Oh, I have not read House of Rot. There we go. I knew there was one I was missing.
Wow.
I gotta get
friendship revoked.
Yeah, I know. He was like, pay for it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do own it. I just haven't gotten to it. There's this weird event coming up called Spirited Giving that's been sucking up my time for an entire year now. And yeah, I'm excited. You're gonna be one of the people there.
Yeah, should I have been promoting that? You kind of said, "What are you up to?" Was that my cue to start talking about Spirited Giving?
No, you're supposed to talk about you, man. Nobody's buying tickets based on this show. They're listening in like France. They're not coming to San Diego for the weekend. It'll be fine.
France? You got a lot of French listeners?
We do have a lot of French listeners. They're actually the entire almost 5 years that we've been on now. France is constantly second to the United States and almost always runs at like a 40%. Like if you look at how many people are listening, it's almost always 40% of the US audience, which for their size is just fucking amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get over there.
Yeah, right. So somebody get us to Paris Con and we will ruin it for you.
Hold on a second. Let me take my shot in the dark. Mesdames et messieurs, s'il vous plaît, invitez-nous à Paris pour une conférence de comiques.
All right.
Does that work? I'm gonna try. It's been a while.
All I understood was me, not James. Outside of that, I missed a lot of it, but anyway.
Moi, no James.
So I know people who normally listen to this show are used to me claiming that things are horror when they're like, that's not horror. And then, I go on my normal rant. But I have to imagine that there are people out there that are like, Jackass Forever? What the fuck were you doing? This is not a horror movie. And to that, first I say, I looked away more times during this movie than any horror movie I've ever watched. And but Danger, I know you kind of gave me a rundown of why this counts as horror. And if you don't mind, I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, you just basically said it, like that watching people put themselves in harm's way on purpose, repeatedly, and not just put themselves in harm's way, but get harmed is in itself horrifying. And in a kind of like, not necessarily yes, there's a slapstick aspect to it, but the difference between slapstick and horror is that we're laughing when the violence happens instead of cringing. So there's not really that big of a difference between the violence you see in a horror movie and the kind of violence you see in Jackass, except for one is kind of leaning joyful and the rest is leaning, trying to scare you or make you kind of feel uncomfortable. I guess they both make you feel uncomfortable.
What about you, Don? Do you have anything to add to that?
I was going to say that kind of hits it for me. Is there's so much that has taken place in this, not just this movie, but the entire series. It's not necessarily about grossing out the audience. It's about pushing the limits with themselves and body horror and things like that. But for the audience, you're imagining that pain, how it would feel. Like, if Ngannou gave me an uppercut to my nuts, I can't imagine that pain. But watching it, I'm like, I know how hard that guy hits. And you're talking about probably the most sensitive area on a male body. But that and like the animals that get, I don't like snakes. I don't like spiders. I don't like any of that shit. And so for me, seeing how one of the characters, I think Shark's dad, gets brought into this, and he's like, yeah, my dad was really tough and he did it. I'm sick. And I'm thinking to myself, it doesn't matter how fucking tough you are. There's always something that you're freaked out by. Doesn't matter. And you saw how this dad, who his son just described as like, this guy was hardcore. He was a gangbanger. He was doing all this other stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, the dad is fucked. Completely fucked. Because you're selling this as, this is that tough guy, right? Which, that's a tough life. That's not something I would want to do. That's not something, a lot of people that are in that really want to do. But putting somebody against something that they actually fear is terrifying. My kid at that age where she's scared of bees. It doesn't matter what flying insect it is. She thinks it might be a bee. She fucking freezes. And I'm like, don't worry, just they're not going to bother you. Just come to me. And she will not move. It doesn't. I could offer her unlimited V-Bucks and Robux. She will not move. And you see that with his dad, where immediately, as soon as that, he's like, what? the fuck, a spider? And they put the spider in, and you see his demeanor completely changes, where he's like, I don't want this thing next near me. And when it's there, you see the fear that this guy has, where he's digging his fingers into people because he's so frightened by this. And I love, and I opened the show saying, I love white people shit. I fucking love it. Right. And by white people shit, for those who don't know, it's typically stuff that is predominantly occupied by white people, or at least people who would be identified as white. Right. It's typically the stuff that we look at and say, like, there's no fucking way I jump out of a plane. I'm not base jumping. That's white people shit. I'm not going surfing. That's white people shit. It's anything that, a good number of non-white people don't participate in. So doing shit like this, you're not going to see, even when BET was owned by Robert Johnson, you weren't going to see something like Fear Factor on BET. You're not going to see Jackass, as far as like a black version of Jackass, we call it Black Ass. I don't know. But, you're not going to have that on that channel, because it's not something that most black people and most Afro-Latino people really want to concern themselves with. Doesn't say that black people don't do it. It's just that you don't have enough people to where the narrative is changed. And like, this is something that, it can be associated with us. But just seeing all the stunts and stuff, I'm thinking about when I was a kid. This is 100% the stuff I would have done. 100%. I mean, as far as like the vortex thing with the milk and trying to throw up, and or even like, I wouldn't do the bee penis thing. That's not happening. But any of the other ones where it's like, we're going to do a human ramp. And in fact, you know what? We fucking did human ramp when I was a kid. I completely forgot about it until this conversation. We used to do shit like this. But you get to a certain age where you're like, I'm not indestructible anymore. I'm not going to fucking do this. But I love how the dad is. Everybody else is bought in, right? Everybody else is part of the Jackass crew, but you bring a civilian, or actually you bring in two civilians, because you got Rachel Wolfson. You bring in two civilians to do this, and you see how scary it can actually be. Whereas these guys, they're scared of, but they're always doing this shit. If I'm not facing these fears on a regular basis for filming, for entertainment, or just, for views on YouTube, like when Jackass got started, I can't do it. I get why having those people, at least for me, has such a deeper impact, because these are not people who are used to doing this shit.
Danger, did you do stuff like this growing up?
Oh, yeah. This is probably one of the most important like shows and series in my formative years and beyond. Like, this spoke to me in a way that other pieces of art didn't.
Spoiler alert, Danger ignored the warnings.
Is this how you got your name?
Partially, to be perfectly honest. Well, the thing is, okay, so these guys are doing transgression in a lot of ways, but they don't really have anything to, as a whole, really rebel against. It's very suburban, right? Especially when it started, they're pushing shopping carts through strip malls into bushes, and security guards are chasing them and shit. And I'm like, that's, and they're on skateboards. I'm like, that's how me and my friends would fuck around, because like, we just lived in a nice, safe suburb where like nothing was going on, but we were bored and we were full of energy and like young male, whatever zest, fucking, and that's what we did. So I would see these guys do this on television, and even though it was transgressive and they kept pushing themselves, to me, it looked like freedom. It looked like this is what someone says, you can't do that. You can't cover your dick with bees.
Right.
And then Steve-O goes, oh yeah, watch me. Like that, there's a certain amount of freedom there that really resonated to me when I was like 16 years old.
Makes sense. I was always a giant wimp, so I didn't do anything that hurts me in any way, and that's still true today.
But like,
I would have watched all of you do it.
The thing is, like, I would take the lessons that I was kind of like learning from this, not necessarily into only self-harm territory, but whenever I was faced with a situation where I would feel like I was uncomfortable, or it felt dangerous, or it felt or I was like putting myself out there in a way, getting in front of a crowd or whatever the case was, I would say, these guys that I look at on TV and think are so funny and cool, they're doing this all the time. And if they can do it, I can do it. I could put myself out there. I could go through these situations. A lot of times when it came to like performing and getting in front of people, I would say, let me do this. Let me just do it. Let me not be afraid. Let me choose to not be afraid of the things that scare me. And then that way I have power over them.
I like that a lot. And that makes way more sense to me. I think I come at it from the dad point of view of, why the fuck are you doing this? And and I mean, I had 3 sons, and they, especially the oldest and the third, have always been the I'll jump off anything, I'll break any bone types, But the second one, when he was like, I think 2, he was at daycare and climbed up on one toy box and just like swanton dived into the other box and gave himself a black eye of these boxes of toys, just like slamming into toys, and just thought it was the greatest thing. But I think I have so much of that left over of seeing every broken bone they've had or different shit like that now when I watch this stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, no, don't do that. So right. I really like that point of view because I never had that.
Well, here's what's really messed up, James. I'm gonna confess something on this show.
If
I
this
didn't
is about
realize
on your cock. I don't want to hear it.
No. I took my kid out to go do some softball drills because she's got her first game tomorrow. And when we're walking back, there's an incline, but there's like a medical center on the road to our neighborhood. And right next to the medical offices, whatever, they have like one of those stone walls, but the road isn't an incline, so that stone wall kind of goes at the same level of the sidewalk. So she started walking on it, and I just watched Jackass. I just watched this movie before we went to go outside, and we're coming back, and I'm thinking like, I want to push her into the bushes because there were bushes below the ledge, and I was just thinking like, fuck, why did I watch the movie before I went out to go play with my kid? Now I want to push her into the bushes because of all the pranks. And and the thing is, most of the stuff, because the pranks become a different issue, but most of the pranks that they pull on each other now, not especially the ones that they did early on, are relatively harmless. It's more about making you think something's there when there's not something there, or we're going to hit you in the head with a soccer ball, when you're coming out of the bathroom. But it's more of a shock than it is really going to hurt you. Because if you've been hit in the head with a soccer ball, the right spot, and when Johnny Knoxville hit Steve-O with it in the right spot, it's not going to be that impactful for you. It's going to be more like, oh, God damn it, you got me. Or honking the horn when somebody walks by and they drop their drink. It's practically harmless stuff. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go up and I'm going to completely taser your testicles without you knowing. Or even in the, you talked about toxic masculinity at the beginning, both of you. Something that does get brought up, which is awesome, is there's this great moment of consent that's discussed. Because Chris Pontius, they have the Scorpion on, I think, was it Rachel? I almost said Jenna Wolfson. Rachel Wolfson, where she's got the Scorpion and it's like dropped down onto her shirt, and he says, "May I have your permission?" Because they're like, "Oh, it's going to your boob." And she's like, "I don't need it on my boob." And he says, "Do I have your permission to remove the Scorpion from your breast?" And it may have gone over a lot of people's heads, but the fact that he said it that way, and she said, "Yes, you may, I consent." And Eric Andre off camera says, "This is the 21st century. Understand consent." Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful for it to be thrown in this film, because you wouldn't typically, because of the way these guys present, you start thinking like, they're not going to discuss things like this. They're not going to discuss this high, which really shouldn't be a high standard. They're not going to discuss these things that, a lot of people rule as these are highest standards. You got to ask somebody for a hug. Oh, you've got to ask somebody to touch their body. It's their fucking body. Ask them. Even in a situation like an emergency situation, you should still ask just to make sure.
Yep.
But I love that.
Like she was going to say, please let the scorpion sting my tit.
Yeah.
Don't. Yeah. Like, of course.
Right. But it's still one of those things where it's like, I want to ask because I know you don't want this on you, but I'm going to ask if you want me to get it off of you. And I thought that was a great moment that, in all honesty, if this were in any other movie, somebody would have said this was some woke bullshit. And I can't believe, he should just go ahead and take the scorpion off. I'm like, well, no, he should ask. Unless the scorpion is actively attacking her.
Do you know what I would give to go back and name our show Woke Bullshit? That would be amazing.
It's not too late.
I want to build on this really fast because it was one of the things I noticed that I really did not expect. I am not a huge fan. I have not seen the other movies. So I had a preconceived notion, and not hearing them once say, don't be a pussy, don't be a bitch, not using any misogynistic laced language to insult each other. Yeah. I don't know if they use it and go back and edit it out. Either way, they're trying to take care of it. But I really noticed that they never say these things. And that really led me into the consent issue you were just talking about. And while there's parts of me that's like, oh, it also adds to the tension and that's cool, because it's this little bit longer that the scorpion's on there. I don't think that that's the overall intention by any means. I just think that's an added bonus to it. But it really struck me as well. And I don't know that I would notice it in most things, but because of those preconceived notions, I did notice these things in this. And that really led me, and I know we're going to get there, I'm just hitting this really fast, but just this overall view of what masculinity is to these guys and what we expect it to be, and how you hit these things like, well, real men don't hang out with each other with their dicks out, and then that would normally lead into, oh, you're gay or whatever, right? And none of that ever happens here. And I find it a fascinating like roller coaster of being a real man and taking pain while also being extremely vulnerable and like just all these different things. And that was the most fascinating part of watching all of this to me.
They're constantly building each other up. Like kind of what you're saying. They don't say, oh, you're a pussy or anything like that, because they're saying you can do this. Yeah, like, I know you don't want to do it, but you can do it. Go sit there and have a guy do like a drill bit on your nuts or whatever they were doing to Preston when he had his little balls hanging. It's like those little hits on a drill bit, like punching him in the nuts. Like, he does there. He sits it. They do it. They say, the director goes, we got to do it again. And then they all turn to him. He's like, are you serious? And they're like, yep. And then they kind of sit him back down. Two guys hold him down so he doesn't jump up. Another one pulls his nuts down for him. They're like, you could do this, Preston. And then they beat his balls up some more.
Right. No, and
there is a layer of there's like, you can't do that against somebody's will, like without being the biggest piece of shit in the world.
Absolutely.
So there's consent kind of built into everything that they're doing, even to each other. Even when it's like egregiously harmful.
And that was one of the things that was so interesting to me, because masculinity, as I view it, is always a bunch of guys trying to be the best one. There's always a built-in competition on some level when I think of this type of male, my preconceived notion, not that they're actually living up to it. And so watching them all be supportive, and it's always, you're literally competing with yourself or your own fear. It's not about, I'm better than you because I'll do this. But like, then like, I look at like when Knoxville gets hit by the bull, which was so amazing to me. Cool. I watched that flip like 19 times, seriously. And their reactions to it is so interesting to me, because there's a pause, like, holy shit, he did it. But then they're also like, is he okay? But they're not running over, but they're not like laughing hysterically that he's knocked out. Like, that whole thing was just such an interesting dynamic to me. And then just how that plays in overall, like you said, that they're super supportive of each other instead of competitive.
Yeah. Now, mind you, I wouldn't want to be friends with any of them in real life because I'd always be on.
Yeah, I felt that way about Eric Andre on set. Like, if he didn't really feel like he was like, he didn't feel like he was part of it, right? He seemed like he was just kind of visiting and hanging out. And then, like, every once in a while, something fucked up would happen to him. Like when he went to go, he's just trying to get his coffee. Just wants to get a coffee. He's there to hang out with his boys and have some fun, watch the movie get made. Just wants a coffee, and he just gets walloped in the fucking face.
That one was pretty great though to watch happen. But yeah, like
look, even his reaction. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying, like, I wouldn't want to take that shot. That's for sure. I'm not hanging out with these guys.
Look, I just love his reaction. He's like, yeah, why don't I just go get some coffee? You know, it would just be normal.
I would hang out with Steve-O over a Zoom. How's that?
I don't even know if that's safe.
Yeah, you're gonna see something still.
That's true. That's true. I mean, you know, I've seen worse. It's fine.
Well, you know, we skipped over some. I should say we danced over it by talking about the nudity. But I got to be honest, man. Well, James, in the earlier movies, I do remember something like that. Like, don't be a pussy. Like, I remember that coming up a couple of times. But I mean, this is 20-something years. That
absolutely. And if you pulled up the things I said that long ago, it'd be.
100%. We'd all be, look at it in a different light and say, like, God damn it, I was an asshole. Why the fuck did I say something like that? So the body positivity, I'm in awe of, right? So you got Zach, you got Preston it was Preston, right?
Preston was the big guy, yeah. Okay. From the old from before, and now there's Zach. There's two big guys.
So you had Preston for the longest time, right? And sometimes they made the joke about, oh, he's a big boy, that type of stuff. But for the most part, his weight was not a joke. It was never played as a joke of like, hey, he's the fat guy. We got to do something weird to him. We got to do something funny. We got to do something worse to him. He's, I would say, the torture. I'll just put it that way. The torture that he receives is no different than anybody else's. Like, there's never like an extra thing of like, well, you're a big guy. Let's do this. The only time that I recall them using him as a big guy, when it was he and Wee Man running and chasing each other, right? It was just about the difference in their sizes and body shapes to be played off to get other people uncomfortable, but it wasn't played off as, hey, I'm a little guy and I'm weird looking. Hi, I'm a big guy and I'm weird looking. It was kind of like, we just want to see people's reactions to just us being silly and goofy. It wasn't that they were the joke. The joke was the individuals that they were surprising and the reactions that they got from those individuals. But even with Zach, it's never treated as, hey, you're much bigger, so we can, I don't know, we can throw you out of a plane or something like that. I don't know, throw you out of a plane without a chute because, you'll be able to absorb. There's never anything that's played off of their weight or the way that they look or just their bodies. Like even the fact that Zach is going shirtless so much, I'm like, God damn, I wish I had that fucking confidence because I don't go shirtless. You know what I mean? Because we all have our body issues and our body insecurities. For me, it's just, I look at it the same way that you mentioned earlier, Danger. It's that idea of being free. Like they get to be who they want to be and don't give a damn what anybody else thinks about them.
It's funny that you bring that up too, because at the end of the movie, I think it's even during the credits, the one guy, Poopies, I think his name is Poopies. He's one of the new kids. He's talking to two of the older guys, and he's just like, dude, the one thing that scared me the most was showing my dick. Like he's like, I didn't care about any of the violence that was about to happen to me, but I'm like, I feel like my penis is not big enough that I want to show it off. And I was nervous about having to get naked in front of people.
Well, the camera adds 10 pounds. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That was amazing. Put that on a shirt.
That would be a real problem.
Film porn. The camera adds 10 pounds. That's just a dick on a shirt. Get on that.
But yeah, it's funny. It's funny that, like, some people have certain hangups in these regards to, we watch it and be like, I wouldn't care about being naked. Like, I'd be like, whatever, it's fine. Like, we're all born naked, but I wouldn't want a bee on my dick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like lines that different people have. Yeah. I don't know.
do the stings help with swelling? And then never mind.
Then it looks bigger. Yeah, there you go.
All right. I can help you guys out with this.
Oh, good.
Here's a good old army story, James. You ready for this one?
Oh boy.
When I was in basic training, one of the guys got bitten. One of the guys in my bay got bitten by a wolf spider or a brown recluse or something on his dick. He was very proud to show it off to everybody and then pointed out that it's twice as big now than it had been.
Wow.
So he was just running around showing because it was, he obviously got it treated, but the all the swelling that he had, it was like from base to tip. It was just
hilarious.
And we all just kind of like, okay, we've seen it. Put your penis away. It's fine. We've seen your penis. Put it away.
I'm going to get a wolf spider so I can find out what an average penis feels like. That sounds cool.
Jesus Christ.
Just have it bite you before any big date,
On that note, really
this
fast.
Is like the worst version of Spider-Man I've ever heard of in my life.
But on the subject of spiders, as you know, I'm a tarantula lover. And this scene with the tarantula going back and forth, I don't feel like that was the same tarantula that bit him. I feel like that was a different tarantula. And I hope that I'm right, because that would make me feel that it was safer. Okay. But also, New World tarantulas, like the one that I have a Mexican red knee, they kick up these hairs and they can really fuck you up with these hairs, and they're just itchy as shit. But if you get them in your eye, it can be devastating. And that was the one thing I didn't like about this, because if that spider got pissed and started kicking hairs, their eyes are right there. And so I had this weird torn thing where I felt like they tried to make it safer by not putting an aggressive tarantula in the actual back and forth. And then they switched to a more aggressive for the bite. And I don't know if that's true. That's just how it looked to me. So I could be totally wrong. But then I was also like, I feel like you don't know much about tarantulas, because you definitely were taking some chances with eyes when you could have just put some fucking goggles on in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a minor complaint, but something I think about. But like when it started, before I was thinking about the hairs, I was like, see, this wouldn't scare me at all. I would just be like, okay, cool, there's a tarantula.
When they were freaking out on that, the one thing they said was, don't hurt the tarantula. Don't hurt the spider. Right. And same with the vulture too. Don't kick the bird. Like, I don't know. I'm like, that's an added thing to like not harm these animals that are coming. That if a bird attacked you in real life, you would do what you needed to protect yourself. But you're inviting a bird to attack you, so you can't attack it back.
Yeah,
right. Well, if you contrast it with the bear, you're definitely not going to be attacking. As we saw, it's like you're going to freeze. Mm-hmm. You're going to sit there and you're going to let it be a bear until the handler comes and gets it. Which in all honesty, when I got a little concerned when the bear handler was like, "Oh, I'm going in there right now."
Yeah. I've seen this 3 times, and my adrenaline shoots up every time that stunt is on. The one where the bear is like right in his face and poking at him and scratching on him. Oh yeah. I'm like, I would not be having fun. I would be saying whatever safe word we have that shuts this down.
My first thought, I was just like, oh man, I hope he didn't get into Steve-O's cocaine. So no, I know Steve-O's clean now, but that was really my first thought, because in my head it's still Steve-O from 25 years ago. So
yeah, and all bears are on cocaine.
Absolutely, I saw a movie about it.
Yeah,
that was a documentary, James. That was not a movie.
I've not watched the documentary. Screw the documentary. Oh, anyway, there really is a documentary about it.
Oh,
But no. Do you guys listen to Steve-O's podcast at all, or have you ever?
I've seen bits of it, but I haven't. I'm not a regular listener to it.
I have started becoming one, and I really, really enjoy it. And I was just curious if either of you listen to it or not. It's neither
I
here
did
nor
watch
there.
this TV show back in the day when it was on Comedy Central, like right after the Daily Show. And this is a long time ago.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it wasn't on that long. It was not on that long. In fact, you might be able to find episodes on YouTube, because I honestly, I don't think it was that long. I think it was on, and then like Colbert came on. So it was like a short replacement show or transition show. Or if it wasn't, it definitely panned out to be one.
Was he doing interviews? Was he like?
It was interviews, and I remember him like jumping into a table,
Oh, sure.
yeah, it's like I think it was the Steve-O show or Steve-O late night or some weird thing. I can't remember. I know he had a show, or at least was there for a little bit. Of the many shows that he's had, because there's like the Bucket List show and stuff like that.
I don't think I've seen any of those.
Did you ever watch Wild Boys?
Nope.
I was a big fan of Wild Boys. I like animals too, so having them go around the world and play with animals, essentially, or get attacked by animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was on board.
Danger, I meant to ask this at the beginning and I didn't. Out of all the Jackasses, why this one? Like, if you were going to talk about any of them, why was it Forever?
Well, it's the newest one, but I've been watching this for 20 years. Like I said, I was maybe 16 or something when the MTV television show premiered, and I was watching the skateboarding videos that were circulating before the MTV show. So it's really something that's kind of grown with me. And watching this one in particular, where the guys are now in their late 40s, early 50s, I would say, most of them, aside from the new cast members who are, in their 20s and probably early 30s. I don't know. There was something about this in particular that was really resonating with me. And it hit me last night too, when Johnny Knoxville, it was the first stunt, I think, in the movie, or maybe the second one, but they're doing they're turning themselves into ramps, and they're stacking each other's bodies up. And Johnny Knoxville goes, "Don't show this angle. You're going to see my bald spot."
Yeah.
And then someone comes over with spray paint and just spray paints his little bald spot in or whatever. And something struck me when he said that, where I'm just like, we're all getting older, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm getting older too. And there's a part of me that goes, oh, this was a part of my childhood, and this is something you need to leave behind. And getting hurt and doing foolish things is a young man's game. But watching these guys do it all over again and do it with such joy, kind of once again, like it did when I was talking about before, it made it seem like, it looked like freedom to me. It made me feel okay with being older. It made me go, maybe it's not so bad if my hair falls out. And maybe it's not so bad that I'm slowing down and I'm getting wrinkles on my face and all these other things that happen when you get older. Like, it's not stopping them from being who they are. And it's not going to change me if I change on the outside. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I was, it actually kind of made me feel really emotional at points that, in a way, I wasn't expecting, because there's no real narrative to latch onto here. It's just one thing after another. And you have to kind of like be in the moment with these guys to kind of get something out of it like that.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's really, I like that a lot. Wow.
Yeah. And I think a lot has to do with how it's filmed too, because it's not, there is the stunts, but you also see them laughing at the stunts, and it's like you're in the room while someone else is doing the stunt. So it's not just the stunt that the movie is, it's everything. You're there in the production tent with them as they're talking about it, and you're there when the director says we got to set up again, and you're there when the cameraman falls over or starts barfing because it's too heinous. So you're just like one of the guys. Like you're just hanging out with your old friends, it seems like.
Yeah, I really got that feeling. It's just that documentary type style, but it also like it made you feel totally a part of it. Like you were saying, like you're in on the planning and all these things. But like you also just kind of hit this point where you start not to trust anybody. And I can't imagine that the cast doesn't feel that way. But like the rattlesnake bit, like when they're going in thinking they're doing one thing and then the lights go out, that moment when that door slams shut, you can just tell like all their years of paranoia, they're just like, God damn it, I fucking knew it. Like, like I get that feeling with my friends, and nobody does anything to me on these levels. And I still have that. So I really identified with that, and that really made me feel like a part of it as well. And as you were talking about it, that's all I could think. Like, it's like you get to watch a movie and the behind the scenes stuff at the same time. And that's really cool.
Well, James, I got to let you know, you don't have to worry about that because you know my rule about pranks.
Well, yeah, no, I trust you usually.
It's like, they have to be funny. Like they have to be funny and harmless. Like if I know you're afraid of something, I'm not going to fuck with you about that, because my feeling is I don't want somebody to fuck with me about, if you decided whatever I had concerns about, not necessarily insecurities, but concerns about, and you bring that up like that, we're never gonna gel again. Yep. Especially the rattlesnake one. If you locked me, actually I take the back. The rattlesnake one, I would have laughed about afterwards. I've been like, God damn, you fuckers got me. I would have laughed. I would have been mad as hell during it.
Oh yeah.
As soon as somebody touched me, I forgot what it was. Aaron. I was crying, laughing because he said, "I got a weapon now. I got a weapon." You're in the fucking dark. What are you gonna do?
And for anyone who doesn't know, Don's idea of a prank is usually Don doing something that makes him look ridiculous and making the rest of us laugh when we don't want to laugh. Like coming to a prank dressed as Cowboy Curtis, coming to a panel dressed as Cowboy Curtis. Like, you don't get to know ahead of time. You don't get to see it. All of a sudden, he just walks in and you lose it, and there's nothing you can do. And that's why we get along so well, because your pranks are never dangerous.
Beach costume and asked to take a picture with you.
So yeah, no, or you have
James
Scott Bradley,
Peach.
Our good buddy Scott Bradley, who will take you during the middle of a super serious panel where Don is being vulnerable and telling us about his childhood. Scott drew a dick and showed it to me in the middle of the panel, and no-sold it. He did not smile. He did not smirk. And I'm the fucking dick on the end of the panel laughing my ass off uncontrollably. And I look like I'm laughing at Don, and that's more my speed. That's what I'm saying.
The untrained eye in the audience, I'm sitting there in my head. I'm like, fucking laugh. You can't laugh. Don't laugh, asshole. Don't laugh. Finish your point. Finish your laugh. Then I get confused, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that was funny.
But yeah, so that's what I need for friends. I couldn't handle hanging out with these guys.
I have a feeling that they're not going to, and you kind of get the indication from this, they're not going to prank anybody who doesn't consent to it.
You know what I mean?
Like they're not going to cause, especially like the, I had to believe they told Eric Andre, like, we're going to get you like sometime on the set. And knowing Eric Andre and the shows that he's done and the performances that he's put on, he knows what he's getting into. And it's like, something's going to happen, but I'm not expecting it to happen. Or it's going to get me when I'm not expecting it, when I'm vulnerable. And I think that's
sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. What?
I would say there's probably some sort of like implicit understanding or even waiver that they have to sign when they step onto set, being like, something could happen to you
right
between this hour and this hour because we are filming this movie.
Well, and if you're on that set, you could randomly get hit with something you weren't supposed to. So I would think you would need that waiver anyway.
That's true. Because again, the dad was my favorite one. Dark Shark or whatever his nickname was. I loved him because that's exactly how I would have been reacting. Like I would have done one or two things, and then I would have been like, nope, I'm not fucking doing any more of this. I'm just going to watch and laugh and have fun. Because obviously, because I'm sure that dad probably went to his son. He's like, your friends are more gangster than anybody else I ever fucking hung out with. Because imagine, like, if somebody's willing to do that to themselves, imagine what they'd be willing to do to you if they had to. It's no, I don't. I'm not going to mess with somebody like that.
Even like today, I made you both watch a YouTube video that I sent you where Steve-O and Johnny were having issues with contracts going into this movie. And Steve-O had happened to get a cameo. And Johnny went on and bought a bunch of videos from him and then left a 3-star review and set Steve-O off to the point that he quit Cameo over a 3-star review that actually came from Johnny Knoxville. And I bring this up because even like, I'm not saying they were like really fighting over this, but even during these like stressful moments, they're pranking each other on such an intellectually low but totally non-dangerous level. You know, it's just fun. It's just fucking with each other, and so I don't know. I found that fascinating as well. After everything you've done to each other, that you wouldn't do something terrible to them. You would just fuck with them a little bit. You know, I liked that a lot.
You mean like you and Vince at Salt Lake City when I was on a panel?
I don't know what you're in reference to.
Danger.
Danger was next to me, I think. Was that? Yeah, I think you could say that year. I don't know.
Oh.
No, I only went. I don't think Don was there the year I was there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, because I went 20.
Yeah. No, you're right. It was
19,
the time before that.
Okay. Yeah. James and Vince texted me, like, I guess they used like that number, the fake number, Google number or whatever. And we're texting me. And it's like, hey, baby, I saw you earlier and I was wondering if you wanted to. I'm like, and I look at it and they
on a panel
know
at the time.
that I'm reading it while I'm on the panel. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, I don't give people my number. I don't talk. It's like, who the fuck is going to be texting me this stuff?
And the character thinking, like, was in the audience of the panel, like, you look so good up there.
Yeah, there was no like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I think that was even my text back. It was like, who the fuck are you?
But yeah.
But again, harmless, fun.
We really do have a thing about making each other break on panels. That's like everybody's goal. And I'm the easiest person to crack. I laugh constantly. So
I'll do a spin-a-rooney next time.
Oh my God, I would pay money to see that. Not very much because I'm poor, but
oh, you.
Really fast, I want to hit something that Danger won't care about at all because he doesn't like wrestling. But Johnny Knoxville had a match with Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 38. And it was so much fun to rewatch this match after watching this movie because there's so many Jackass callbacks in it. And you start out, it's a normal match where Sammy's just killing Johnny. And then they start bringing in all these things, like they pulled out a table covered in mouse traps and they have like the little device with the foot that kicks you in the nuts and things like that. And Don, I wanted to get your opinion on this match because I know you've watched it and loved it.
I loved
it. You've seen more of the movies than I have, and I just wanted to get your feeling as the only person here that's watched both. Hey, what did you think of this when it happened?
All right. I love when fun stuff bothers wrestling fans.
Oh, me too.
Because they forget that this is all make-believe. It's all scripted. It's all for fun. It's for entertainment. And you have to have any type of theatrical production. You have to have a nice balance of stuff. If there's bad stuff, there's got to be good stuff. If there's sad stuff, there has to be fun stuff or funny stuff, right? And one of the greatest things you have in wrestling and pro wrestling is comedy. Comedy and the horror elements, right? So those guys who can go out there and ladies who can go out there and actually perform and then they're funny at the same time, those are the people I love to watch. Love to watch how this is fun, this is entertainment. Stop trying to make us kill ourselves to entertain you. Like there are other things we can do. So this match, it was a perfect match, mixing the outside world of wrestling with wrestling itself. Because wrestling is fucking slapstick anyway. If you really get down to it's slapstick humor. I mean, look at all the ways that we have with whatever wrestler we're looking at. The goofy shit that every wrestler happens to do that's either funny, silly, dumb, or ridiculous, right? One of my favorite ones is the Cobra.
Oh, yeah.
It's a move that Santino Marella had for years, where it was basically he put on a sock that was designed like a cobra.
Put it on his arm, just to be clear.
Oh, that's on his arm, because we're talking about Jacket. But he had it on his arm, and he would like do his hand like a little, like a little snake, and peck at the person like it was a snake bite, and that person would pass out. There were parts where they had matches where this individual put the sock on his arm, and you had snake charmers on both sides of the ring that were controlling the fucking thing. So this match, long answer to your question, this match was fun because it wasn't like we're going to take ourselves really seriously. We've got to make this a serious sport. It's fun. It's fun. And the moment that people stop realizing that it's fun, they don't need to watch. I mean, either Jackass or this.
That was kind of my takeaway with this was out of all the celebrities that have been in wrestling, this worked the best because everything Knoxville does is like wrestling. It's putting yourself in the places where you can get hurt while entertaining people. And it's, not being afraid to dive off of something into a table filled with mouse traps or whatever else. But it also...
The big hand
incorporated so many of like their friends, and that was great. Like Wee Man came out from under the ring and attacked people, and then Party Boy was in the ring rubbing his groin on Sami Zayn, and Sami was freaking out. And it was cool how similar the two are to one another, I guess.
But it's drag. And speaking of drag, when you got Chris Pontius, like the fact that so many of these guys, I would argue, are gender fluid as far as the presentation, right? Because Chris Pontius will put on a dress, and it's not like, man, I don't know about this. I shouldn't be. It's like, I'm going to put on a fucking dress. Like, what's the big deal? And the same thing with any time they did something that was seen as traditionally non-masculine, right? The way that people say, that's not, you're not being a real man if you don't do this or whatever. Okay, you had Machine Gun Kelly, who I'm not a fan of his. I don't know any of his songs, but I know that there are a lot of insecure men that he makes very uncomfortable because of the way he dresses and the fingernails, the manicures that he gets. Yeah, nail polish. I couldn't remember to save my life. But there's so much that's represented. You get to see how both of you brought up that whole idea of it's a changing of the guard. You got Jackass, you got other younger people that could potentially take Jackass in a new direction in the future. But you also have this idea of old world or older generations social norms and mores and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, whereas Jackass was breaking those gender norms, those social norms, those political norms 20 plus years ago, because it was simply, no, we're going to go have fun with our friends. We're going to get naked. We're going to do goofy shit. We're going to put a toy car in a condom and shove it up this guy's ass. And it was never like, oh, we're doing it to be sexual. We're doing this to be exploitative. It was, this sounds like a stupid idea. Let's do it.
Hey,
and
Danger,
let's see how other people react.
Danger, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like in one of the older ones, they directly say that homophobes shouldn't watch their stuff. They say something like this. Yeah. I can't remember. Maybe it was the second one. I didn't know if you would remember this moment or not, but it just came to me and I was like, I feel like that happened, but maybe it was on the show. I don't know. I watched it here and there, but
I don't remember that implicitly, but
I'm going to Google it.
That seems like kind of just part of the fabric of what they're selling here.
Yeah.
Like if you're a homophobe, you probably aren't going to want to watch a bunch of guys take their clothes off and kind of play with each other.
It came out a few years ago. Actually, no, I take that back. I know it was 2010 because I was looking up a couple of things on it. There was a Vanity Fair article, but I remember it was either with the I can't remember which organization it was, but they were basically speaking out against homophobia. And this was just a couple of years ago, one instance, but I mean when they were promoting the movie. But again, like 12, 14 years ago, where they did in interviews, which is great.
Their symbol is a giant rainbow,
right?
Mm-hmm.
That Dick House, whatever the production company, it's just Dick House in a big rainbow, like. And in one of their movies, I think there's a big rainbow too. They do like a whole musical number at the end of I think the third one, and they're like, wow. And there's like a rainbow, and it's like launching them into across the set and shit.
Let's check that one out. Nice.
They usually, James. They usually open and close on like a really big, like this one opened with that Godzilla, Dickzilla thing.
Oh, that was great. How did we skip that?
But like that's like it's so usually the shows in the movies are just these skits one after another, but they always kind of open and close with a really big elaborate stunt that almost has like a kind of narrative to it. And like this one this was, I saw this in the theater, and the first thing you see in this movie is a giant green cock just taken up in the movie theater. Like 40 feet of my vision is just a big penis coming right at me. I was just like, oh, we're in.
Well, literally coming right in.
Literally coming.
Hey, Don, did you have any sandwiches today?
It's funny. I
feel like that was a specific setup.
James set me up for this one. I was making a sandwich while I was watching Jackass. And it got to the part with the pig semen, and I haven't eaten today, so. But I will say this: I was glad that they didn't go the route that Fear Factor tried to go, where it's like you're going to ingest it. They're both gross, right? But one is like crossing a line that's a little bit too much. But I loved I think that was Poopsie that was doing that interview when they dropped all the 5 gallons of semen on him. But I love how his reaction is he's not mad that it happened. His response is like, was that real pig semen? Yeah. I'm a vegetarian. Like that was the part for him. And it wasn't like I've done anything against my vegetarianism. It's like, oh shit, I got some in my mouth and I'm a vegetarian. And that was even funnier than the stuff falling on him, because it's like it was delivered in such a straight way and not a non-comedic way, to where it's like that for me works. That for me works.
I liked the slow-mo replay of the single drop. I thought that was wonderful. And I was like, that's so like that I can completely identify with, because if something like this happened, that's what all of us would do. We'd just be like, look at that right there. Can't deny it. We see it right there.
Frame right when it's touching the tongue. I feel like he's just getting it right now.
It's when you print it out, put it in a frame, give it to them for their birthday. Man.
Oh my God. Oh, this was fun. This was a fun movie. And that's why I said I didn't take any notes, because I was just so stuck into it. I'm like, oh my God, I have got nothing.
I thought I would hate it more than I did. I didn't expect to like detest it. Like, why did you do this? Even though I was making jokes about it on social media that Danger was holding me captive and forcing me to watch it. But I expected to just be like, I guess whatever. And the actual exploration of like the masculinity stuff we were talking about, or the friendship parts, and just like really thinking about these things more like home movies in a way, if you will. It was like it's like a documentary of their friendship. And when I was looking at it that way, I loved it so much. Like, I don't know that I'm going to go back and watch it, because like I said, I'm a wimp and, I turned away for half the movie. But I don't know. That was fascinating to me in itself. Just that this group has literal like home movies of these crazy things they did together. And I look at like Ryan Dunn died, you know, like how many of us have the ability to go back and relive these cool ass moments with our friends? You know, like one of my closest friends had a stroke last year. I thought he was going to die. I barely have pictures with him. I have pictures of him, right? And like, so when I was looking at it that way, like exploring that we're getting older and we can't do these things anymore, and just having that record of your time with your friends, I thought that was cool as shit.
Yeah.
Of them literally laughing at death with their dead friend, you know, like that's because that's what they're doing here.
Absolutely.
I know there's I'm a modicum of safety precautions taken on some of these stunts, but if you're having a bull charge at you, there's really not much you could do that's going to protect you from being killed by it if that's the way it's going to play out.
Just the bull. That's all that's going to stop it.
It comes down to the bull.
I would love to know how many times I rewatched The Bull, because I was just like, holy shit. I'm just watching it over and over. And then his friend's like, okay, this is The Bull and this is you. And then just like fumbles his phone in his hands. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, what a great way to show what just happened here. I thought he pulled out the phone because he had it on video and was going to show him what happened. But no. Man.
Oh, James, that was you with your high, expectations of people.
That's right. Look, if one of you is going to get hit with the bull, I would definitely be videoing it on my own, as well as all the camera crew. All right.
I'm going to tell you right now, some shit like that happens to me, even if I didn't intend it. If you recorded it, I want to see it because I want to laugh at that shit later.
I would make sure you're okay, and then I would post it on social media with no context.
And then you have a little bubble that says, "This is some bullshit,"
and
then everybody reads it in my voice.
Jesus.
Oh my god! James and Danger. Thank you. I would have honestly forgotten about this movie because I did not watch it when it came out. I think the first movie I saw in the movie theater in 2022 may have been. Well, no, I think they came out in 2021. So I probably saw something after I got my vaccinations, but I know I didn't see it in the movie theater, if it even showed up here, because our movie theaters are weird. They don't want us to have fun.
It surpassed the dick quota of your local movie.
Probably.
Theater.
Well,
we can only have 6.
I'm sure somebody at the Film Commission of Mississippi was like, "God damn it, son! There's only so many dicks you can put in a fucking movie."
And they were like, "How dare you tell us what we can do? We'll add 10 more dicks." Amazing. I am disappointed that a penis hydra monster wasn't in it. I keep waiting for one, and no one will write me one. It makes me sad. But one day I will get my dream of a penis, and every time you cut off its head, it grows more heads. It's also my biggest fear.
I was gonna say, that's your dream.
That's my dream. I have a lot of nightmares, though, so Anyway,
one man's dream is another man's nightmare.
Exactly. Do either of you have anything else, or would you like to move to movie recs and move on with our days? Go. Cool.
Yeah. I'm glad we got a lot out of this, because there's no narrative to this movie, and there's not really a story or anything like that. But you have to kind of examining it on this bigger level kind of gives it there is a lot to it, more than meets the eye. And it's great to kind of be able to talk about that and kind of parse those thoughts out. So thank you.
Oh, you know what? There's one more scene. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, Danger, I think you hit what the movie, the actual narrative, by saying that it's going beyond the movie. It's this long narrative that's about talking about the changes over time. So you mentioned it. So I think that is what the narrative is. So it's not necessarily, we're going from part A of the story all the way to Z.
Yeah.
This is where we are. This is what we're representing. You're seeing, even as James pointed out, you're seeing a friendship that has been filmed and very well documented. So I would even compare this to something like the movie, oh my gosh, whichever movie they shot over 12 years. It's like Boyhood, or I think it was Boyhood, where you're seeing the development of somebody organically, even though it's scripted. And this is, scripted and programmed, but you're seeing the development of these individuals as they are over these years, to where you see how men who are not compelled, as far as cisgender men, who are not compelled to abide by these cisgender ideas and concepts of manhood. And with that, you kind of see how that changes from the TV show to the first movie to now we actually can see that social issues, political issues, interactions with people have completely, I shouldn't say completely changed, have helped shape all the individuals in this film series and TV series, to where we see this as a healthy version or healthy form of masculinity, because you're not compelled to abide by those social norms anymore.
Beautiful.
You can't see it, but I'm nodding. I'm nodding in agreement.
We can see it. We have our ways. But no, there's one scene that I meant to touch on and I forgot, because this is the scene I got stuck on, wondering who I would want to be in this scene. And it's the marching band. Because when the first one goes and hits the treadmill and flies off the side, at first I was like, I'd like to be him, because he didn't have to see what happens to the others first. But then I was like, but he gets hit by everybody else that's flying over there. And I was just like, I couldn't decide, do I want to be first or fifth? Because I feel like if I was fifth watching this, I would be terrified to hit it. Like, just watching the way their legs bend and different shit, I don't know if I could handle that. But I was like, I don't know that I want to be hit by this either. And I just found it fascinating that I got stuck on this, and I literally just kept thinking about who I would rather be.
The only thing I probably compare this movie to, and it's going to sound weird, and really because of the thing I brought up earlier, this is what friend groups look like in the military. In all honesty, like those friend groups of people from different backgrounds, different ideologies, different life experience, that you make those friend groups, and none of that shit matters as far as what everybody else in the world thinks. It's, we're going to fuck around with each other. We're going to goof off. We're going to play around with each other, but we're not going to do anything harmful to each other, because we are each other's chosen family. So you fuck with, you fuck with danger, you got to fuck with us. But anybody else, we're not going to look out for, because they're not part of our family. And I think that's kind of the cool thing here. Not saying that these guys wouldn't look out for anybody else, but you see that concern, as both of you brought up earlier, that concern for each other, where it's like, I'm not going to laugh until I know you're okay. Like, once I see that you're up and breathing and everything's fine, like, now I can fucking laugh, with like you brought up the bull thing, James. Now I can fuck with you about the phone and say, like, oh, this is how you looked. And then make you go back and watch the video, now that you're okay. In the case of Steve-O, when he got the concussion, I'm sorry, Knoxville, when he got the concussion, and Steve-O, when, it weren't sure what happened to him initially.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, cool. I guess that wraps it up for this part. We'll move to movie recs. So, Danger, what should people watch if they enjoyed this?
I'm just going to throw one movie out that is, I guess, sort of tangentially related to this. But there was a movie that came out a few years ago called Bad Trip.
God damn it.
Starring Eric Andre and Lil Rel. Were you going to suggest that one?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's Eric Andre, Lil Rel Howery, and Tiffany Haddish, I think, was in it. And they essentially, it is a reality prank movie where they set these elaborate pranks up. They do the pranks on regular people. It's them getting hurt, usually Eric Andre in particular, hurting himself, or, one of the others putting people in kind of awkward situations. But they somehow were able to build a movie with a real narrative that moves forward, and real characters that have arcs and everything, while every scene involves a unscripted prank, essentially.
That sounds crazy.
So they were able to cobble this all together. It's really, I can't imagine how much behind the scenes work something like this would have taken. And I mean, Eric Andre is just one of my favorite comedians to begin with. So, you know, having a movie where here's the star is also great for me too. So if you like Jackass, this is kind of like the evolution of their kind of pranks into the realm of an actual film.
Wow.
James, if you're unsure about watching it, just go look up the Tiffany Haddish part where she steals the cop car.
All right.
I had to stop the movie. I was laughing so fucking hard.
Interesting.
God damn! Like, no, just go. For those of you listening, if you haven't seen, just go watch that scene. It'll make up your mind whether or not you can handle that movie. I was on the floor. I was done. I couldn't catch my breath enough.
So normally I do a double feature, and I really had nothing because I don't normally watch stuff like this, and I didn't know what would go well with it. So my joke answer for you is Benjamin Button, because it's all about reclaiming your youth.
Oh, I don't know if that's a joke. I think that works.
All right, Don. What are your, I don't know,
well, obviously,
404 movies?
All of the Jackass series, the TV shows, the Wild Boys, all that stuff. I watched all of it, loved it. Bad Grandpa, The Ringer, also with Johnny Knoxville, these two movies. The Hangover series.
Ice cream.
That's my favorite line. I love that it was a completely improv. I had no idea. Keanu, Paul Blart, MacGruber. It's an underrated movie. It's stupid. It's fun. It has a nice little lesson in it. 21 Jump Street, Horrible Bosses 1 and 2, Dumb and Dumber, and just stop right there. Just Dumb and Dumber. Harold and Kumar, Joe Dirt, Clerks, Zoolander, Cop Out, The Heat, Masterminds, Happy Gilmore, and last but not least, The Three Stooges. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. And Practical Jokers, Workaholics, and last but not least, The Three Stooges.
Nice. Well, sweet. So Danger, legitimately, I would have never watched this if you hadn't suggested it. And I think that we did pretty good at honoring the spirit of Jackass, because the three of us just took a movie that we thought had no narrative, no plot, and we dissected it for well over an hour, and we hit legitimate shit. And if that's not meeting the rebellious attitude of Jackass, I don't know what is. And I didn't have to put a bee on my cock, so that's exciting.
Still time.
There's queen still time. Bee at that. A queen bee.
All right. So, Danger, where can people find you on social, buy your books, and all of that good stuff?
You can find me on Twitter or whatever it's called now, Danger_Slater, or Instagram, one word, Danger Slater, or just type it into Google and I'll pop up everywhere, including where to find my books, which is like Amazon or from the publishers themselves.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I suppose that wraps it up for another week. As always, I'm James Sabata.
And I'm a vegetarian.
Sure you are. And we'll see you next week here at thenecronomist.com.